Every single one of the trillions of cells in your body is basically a tiny little engine, right? And just like any engine, it needs fuel coming in and exhaust going out. This isn't just some casual thing. It's the absolute fundamental process that keeps you, well, alive.
Yeah, seriously, think about it. Each cell is like its own little city. It needs a constant supply chain bringing in the good stuff like oxygen and glucose, and it needs a waste management system to haul out the trash. And this is happening in trillions of places all at once, all over your body, right this very second.
So that leads us to the big question, doesn't it? How on earth does all this stuff get across the cell's border, the cell membrane? Well, that membrane is like the ultimate bouncer or gatekeeper, and it's got three main tricks up its sleeve to manage all this traffic. All right, let's get into the first one. We're going to start with the simplest, most straightforward solution for getting things across that membrane. It's called diffusion. Think of it as the go-with-the-flow method. Okay, so here's the textbook definition you'll want to remember. Diffusion is the net movement of particles from a region of high concentration to one of low concentration. The word net is super important here. It's like being in a packed room. People are moving all over the place, but the overall, or net, movement is going to be out the door into the empty hallway. That's diffusion. So what are the key things to know about diffusion? Well, first off, it's passive. That means the cell doesn't have to spend any energy at all. It's a free ride. It just happens because particles naturally want to spread out. This is exactly how oxygen from your lungs gets into your cells and how the waste product, carbon dioxide, gets out. It's totally effortless, but man, is it crucial. Okay, so that's diffusion. It's all about going from high to low concentration. Simple enough, right? But what happens when the thing that needs to move is water itself? Well, water is so important for life that it gets its own special version of diffusion, and we call it osmosis. Now, the definition for osmosis can seem a little tricky at first. It's the net movement of water from a dilute solution to a more concentrated one across a partially permeable membrane. Let's break that down. A dilute solution just means there's a lot of water. A concentrated solution means there's less water and more other stuff dissolved in it. So really, water is still just moving from where there's a lot of it to where there's less of it. So you can think of osmosis as diffusion with a couple of special rules. Rule number 1, we're only talking about water molecules. Rule number 2, it has to happen across what's called a partially permeable membrane, basically a filter that lets water pass through but blocks bigger molecules. And just like its big brother diffusion, osmosis is totally passive. The cell doesn't lift a finger. Right. So diffusion and osmosis are easy. They're like rolling a ball downhill. It just happens naturally. But what if a cell needs to do the opposite? What if it needs to push that ball uphill? What if it needs to pull something in from an area where there's not much of it into an area where there's already tons? Well, that's going to take some work. And that's the key difference we're about to see. Diffusion and osmosis, they go down the concentration gradient from high to low. But this new process we're talking about, active transport, goes against the concentration gradient. It's the rebel of the group. So here it is. Active transport is the movement of substances against a concentration gradient, and it uses energy from respiration to do it. See those two key parts? Against the gradient and uses energy. This is no free ride. The cell has to pay an energy bill to make this happen. So how does a cell pull this off? It has these amazing little machines embedded in its membrane called protein pumps. These pumps literally grab onto a molecule on one side and shove it through to the other. A fantastic example is in your gut. Your cells work really hard to grab every last molecule of glucose from your food, pumping it into your blood even when your blood already has more glucose than your gut does. That's active transport in action. But wait a minute, we said this pumping takes energy, right? So where does that energy actually come from? Well, the power source is a molecule called ATP. And where do we get ATP? From aerobic respiration. So the energy you get from breathing and breaking down food is literally what fuels these tiny pumps. It's all connected. Pretty cool, huh? Okay, so that's the whole gang: diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Let's pull it all together and put them side by side. A little comparison is the perfect way to make sure this all sticks in your head, especially for revision. And here we go. This table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at those top two rows. They're the big ones. First, does it require energy from respiration? Only active transport gets a check mark. Second, do the particles move down a concentration gradient? Only diffusion and osmosis get a check mark there. If you get those 2 points, you've pretty much got the whole story. Now, because all this transport stuff is so incredibly important for staying alive, it's not enough for it to just happen. It needs to happen fast. So over millions of years, organisms have evolved some really clever ways to maximize the speed of these processes. Let's look at your lungs. They are a masterpiece of design for maximizing diffusion. First, they're filled with millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli, which gives them a huge surface area, like the size of a tennis court. Second, the walls of these alveoli are paper thin, just one cell thick. This means gases have a super short distance to travel. Large surface area, short diffusion distance. That's the winning combo.
And you know what? This isn't a one-off trick. Nature loves this design. You see the exact same principle in your small intestine. It's lined with these tiny, finger-like projections called villi, and their whole job is to increase the surface area for absorbing food. It's a classic biological strategy.
So that's it. 3 crucial processes that your cells use to control everything that comes in and goes out. So let's just nail this down one last time. We've got diffusion, passive, lazy, goes with the flow. We've got osmosis, also passive, but it's the special VIP rule just for water. And then there's active transport, the hard worker, the one that uses energy to go uphill and fight against the flow. When you really stop and think about it, it's just amazing. All of this is happening inside you right now, this silent, constant, microscopic ballet that is literally keeping every single one of your cells alive. And that leaves us with a final question to chew on. We've seen how vital active transport is for getting nutrients from our food. So what do you think would actually happen if those little cellular pumps just failed? What would the knock-on effect be? It really makes you appreciate how much work is going on inside you, doesn't it?